Shana Tova, Happy New Year. This is Rabbi Colman Reaboi from Temple Sinai in Cinnaminson, New Jersey, wishing all of you a happy 5785. When I was at Camp Tamarack in the summer of 1982, every bunk had to go through a team-building obstacle course. The object of the course was, obviously, for us to learn how to work as a team, but also to build individual self-confidence. One of the exercises was called the trust fall. So basically, what you had to do was fall backward with your arms crossed, with your eyes closed, and fall back, hoping that your bunkmates would catch you. Having faith that someone would stop your fall isn't easy. And in my case, I felt that I was too big and those trying to catch me might not be able to withstand my weight. Another reason for my doubt was because I knew my bunkmates better than the obstacle course specialist, and I figured they might let me fall just for a cheap laugh. In the process of gathering my thoughts in writing this devar, I pondered this question. Is there a difference between faith and trust? Faith and trust are related concepts that are often confused because people use them interchangeably. These two words are different from each other, where faith is more commonly used in spiritual context. Trust is an important concept in relating to others. These two concepts can go hand in hand, however, and often refer to believing in someone or something. Let's look at the meaning of trust. In the context of relating to people, it means that one person places their confidence in another person. For example, a person that allows a friend to borrow his or her car expects that person would not harm the car and would return it in the same condition when it was borrowed. Another example includes borrowing money. If a person lends a friend money, that person trusts that that friend would return the money in due time. Basically, you are trusting what the person says before their actions are made. Building trust in someone isn't easy. Earning trust takes time, sometimes a very long time. In Ethics of Our Fathers, Rabbi Joshua Prachia says, "Find yourself a mentor, acquire a friend, and judge everyone favorably." Why are these three concepts lumped together into one teaching? We can appreciate the connection between finding a mentor and acquiring a friend. But why is a lesson of judging people favorably taught in the same lesson? If you've ever used a dating app, you know that there are people out there who make wonderful first impressions. You think this person just might be Mr. or Miss Right. You go on that first date, and then another, and maybe even another. Then things might be going well with that person for a while. And then you get to know them a little better, forming a closer relationship, and you discover their deficits and dark sides of their personality. At that point, you may find yourself disappointed at how someone who presented themselves so well could fail you, and you end up wishing you had swiped left instead of pressing that heart icon. But perhaps they do turn out to be the person of your dreams. You live your lives together, you learn something different about each other, and over time, that only solidifies your relationship, which validates your trust that you placed in them. The lesson of why we judge others favorably is to give people a chance, understanding that everyone has weaknesses and deficits, triggers and battle scars. If we judge others too harshly or with unattainable standards, we will neither gain a mentor or a friend. Faith is similar, but is something different at the same time. As I mentioned before, when we speak about having faith, we generally used it in a spiritual context. There are many examples of faith in Psalms. We all know Psalm 23. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God leads me down to still waters. A favorite of mine is Psalm 16, where the psalmist proclaims to God, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my faith in you. Show me the way I should go, for to you I entrust my life." One of the themes during the High Holy Days is proclaiming that God is our Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, or our parent, our sovereign, who created the universe and has a destiny in every living creature. Today, the book of life is open to a new chapter. We have faith that God will allow us to live one more year, and in turn we engage in the act of teshuvah, asking for forgiveness from God and our fellow human beings. The Unetana Tokef liturgical poem in our Machzor lists all kinds of punishments for our wrongdoings, but the poem ends with the words of hope. Ut shuvah, ut filah, ut tzedakah, but repentance, prayer, and charity will lessen God's severe decree. If we are to begin 5785 by proclaiming that we will be a better version of ourselves, then this verse in our Machzor is saying that God has faith that we will truly change for the better, acting more ethically and treating others with kindness, and making an effort to observe mitzvot. We learn that faith and trust may be different, but they are similar in the ways that both parties, whether it's God or humankind, have to give something in order to gain something. We call this something trust. Last January, I experienced a local Dr. Martin Luther King service sponsored by the Greater Taunton Clergy Association in Taunton, Massachusetts. I say experience because it was like nothing I had ever experienced. My fellow clergy members went on and on about having faith in God. It was all about faith. A pastor of a Spanish Pentecostal church was even saying that we need to have faith in God and not doctors, that God would protect us and we would be safe from COVID, especially if we attended church regularly. We just need to have faith. Although I didn't agree on every point that the pastor made, I was blown away by their message of having faith in God. It's my experience that Jews are pretty skeptical when it comes to talking about faith in God. We're uneasy when it's brought up, and it's hardly brought up unless we read about it in our prayers. We become uncomfortable when faith is mentioned because, well, shall I say it? It seems too Christian. Well, because of our history, Jews are suspicious of talk of having faith in God and having faith in others. Jews were slaughtered in the name of God or Allah. It is truly surprising that we can have faith in anything or anyone. Having faith in a deity that is imperceptible to our senses, who we cannot see or hear, goes against all of our instincts. The sad thing is, we tend to have more faith in politicians, doctors, and scientists than we do in God. But if we have faith in them, what happens when they let us down? I can't tell you how many times my local meteorologist let me down. And yet, I still watch the weather forecasts. So why do we not have more faith in God? Judaism emphasizes action rather than faith. We believe our ancestors and our traditions and our commandments lead us closer to God. But when I observe these fire and brimstone preachers on Martin Luther King Day, a thought occurred to me. In Judaism, it is possible to emphasize faith in God and still observe the prescribed actions of prayer, study, and social justice. The Torah reading for the second day of Rosh Hashana is called the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. In the Torah reading, God tests Abraham's faith by asking him to sacrifice his son Isaac. Just before Abraham plunges the knife into his son's heart on a makeshift altar, an angel stays his hand. Abraham had passed the test of faith in God. I see this story as a balance between faith and justice. While Abraham shows his absolute faith, God teaches Abraham and us that sacrificing children is not only immoral, but it is also detestable. Judaism teaches that all life is valuable. In one of the verses in the liturgical poem Adon Olam, there is a line that says, Vehu haya, vehu hoveh, vehu yihyeh. God was, is, and will be. To me, this means that God sees the big picture. We can do our best to predict and to use logic, but God sees the arc of history and into the future. If we believe this to be true, then it is also true that God has the vision to see when harm will befall us. God gives us hope in the possibility that even if our situation looks bleak from our limited point of view, there is a reason and a redemption that might exist. As God opens the gates of forgiveness, God opens the doors for opportunity to have faith. But we must act on that faith by following the moral and ethical values of the Torah. Siddur Mishkan Tefillah offers a great quote. Pray as if everything depends on God, and act as if everything depends on you. To me, it would be a dark and hopeless world without a God that is all-seeing, all-knowing, all-loving. I take great comfort in knowing that things happen for a reason, both good and bad. And because of my faith, I gain solace and strength. Unlike having faith in people, I know that God will always lead me out of whatever hole I've dug myself into. God promises this countless of times in the Torah. This is my faith, and I hope it can be yours too. Even with all our technology, we are all faced with the uncertainty for the future. But uncertainty isn't a punishment, it's a part of life. Judaism says that we can fight fear and uncertainty by having faith. To quote Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sack, faith is not certainty, it is the courage to live with uncertainty. Having the courage to face the uncertainty of life leads us to hope. Hope lifts us off the floor. Hope pushes us forward. Hope gives us strength that often surprises us. It is no wonder that the anthem for the state of Israel is called Hatikva, which means the hope. For 2,000 years, every Jewish heart beat with the hope that God would someday deliver us from strange lands, eventually leading us back to the Jewish homeland. The spirit of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is to remember that God has faith in us, in all of us, to make a change for the better this year. God asks of us to take a serious look at our behavior during the past year. In our prayers during Rosh Hashanah, we remind God of those 13 attributes of mercy that are listed. God is God. God is forgiving, compassionate, slow to anger, merciful, kind, embodying truth, showing kindness to thousands, pardoning transgressions and iniquities. To put it simply, we trust in God to forgive our wrongdoings of the past and give us a chance to lead a good life for the new year. And we have faith that God will see us through the dark times ahead. And although God knows as well as we do that it some point during the next year, we are going to do something that may be less than good. Still, God has faith in us. Why is that? It's because we are making that first move here, today. We're making that first step in building a faithful and trusting relationship. God is always giving us chances to connect, to make amends, to be better. The next move is ours. Is it possible to have a similar relationship with our fellow human beings? Can't we give chances to others as well? Can't we try to rebuild the bridges that have separated us for too long? If God has faith in us, then we need to give others the benefit of the doubt. To quote Lord Rabbi Sack once more, the test of faith is whether I can make a space for difference. Can I recognize God's image in someone who is not in my image, whose language is not mine, whose faith and ideal are different than mine? If I cannot, then I have made God in my image, instead of allowing God to remake me in his. Remember Rabbi Joshua's saying in Ethics of Our Fathers, get yourself a mentor, acquire a friend, and judge each other favorably. Building trust in others may also build bridges of friendship, wisdom, and opportunity. Having faith in God is just one of the pieces of the Jewish religion. Nothing takes the place of good deeds and ethical behavior. But this new year, I am asking you for two things. Have more faith in God and learn how to be more trusting in others. Who knows where that may lead? You might make a business connection, a best friend, or you might make that love connection you were hoping for. And perhaps you might even be caught when you fall. As for the people who hurt us and make us mistrust them, well, to quote Jewish pop singer Pink, I may be bent, but I am not broken. Trust, faith, and hope. May we never stop having trust, faith, and hope in the eternal, in our community, and in ourselves. Shana Tova U'Metuka. May you be blessed this coming new year. May you be written in the book of life. May you have a sweet new year to you, to yours, and to your family. I'm Rabbi Colman Reaboi of Temple Sinai signing off. Shalom to everyone. Let us spread peace in the world. Take care.